being put in place for students to have the opportunity to experience the education we are providing in a positive way, right? If I'm being discriminated against, if I'm being made fun of, if I'm being bullied, I'm not experiencing the entire opportunity that I should have as a student in Hartland schools. So the first thing we did is we took our 3 R's. 3 R's have been around as long as I've been here. I was a high school principal back in 2000. I was hired as a high school principal. I was a high school principal for 12 years. It existed then, and it exists today. The 3 R's are clear that those are our tenets to our school district. And as we defined the 3 R's, we looked specifically at what is it and how is it that we could define those. Because for years, they existed without really a definition, right? It's kind of like saying, we're going to be a great school district. And I say, here's my definition of great. And you come along and say, well, if you just added this little piece, it would be even greater. Well, nobody can ever agree on what great is. So we always talk about getting better. So good to better. And as we get better, we got to get better at educating our children that it's not okay to do the things that they do. So under respect, we define respect as respecting the abilities, qualities, achievements, differences, and similarities of all, including ourselves. HCS provides the best possible educational experience for students by eliminating, this is where we capture that, barriers in our policies, procedures, and practices that may limit the opportunity for a full participation in what we have to offer as a school district. Again, as we developed that, and we took this to the Board of Education, the Board of Education then adopted it, have yet to find somebody that says, hey, I don't agree with that. Because I think we all agree with that. So moving forward, we had to put our energies into what are the barriers that our students are experiencing? What are they? So as we did that, we worked with the DOJ and created an agreement. And in that agreement, this is what we agreed to in the first round. We would conduct a district-wide climate survey, all of our employees, parents, students, to identify where people were feeling as if though they were not being included and being safe in school. I'm paraphrasing a little bit. I could read it all if you wanted me to, but I don't think you do. So we looked at that, and we actually hired a company that is an expert at surveys. We hired Hanover, the company Hanover Surveys. They created a survey for us. We explained them what we wanted. We got the survey data back. We looked at the survey, tried to digest that survey, and that's what we did to meet that criteria. And we made some adjustments. Number 2, develop a plan to address concerns identified by the survey. We did that. Number 3, invite students to meet with designated staff to talk about and share their experiences. Mrs. Gregory, our high school principal, and Mr. Pumford, our middle school principal, met with almost all of our students of color and talked about their experiences in Hartland schools. And we collected that information. We knew what our kids were saying.
Chuck, what year is this you're talking here now?
2022, 23, okay? Number 4, to continue our efforts to better investigate and track issues in the school district. So we did that. I will tell you that's probably the best thing that came out of this whole process, is that we have a better system for understanding where it is we're seeing kids behave in a way that is uncivil, disrespectful, and discriminatory towards others. We have a much better system for doing that, and what we can do now is we can see, I'll use me, Chucky in the system was addressed for using the N-word 14 times. But it's always found to be, well, it's he said, she said. Well, maybe there's a piece in there that we're missing. maybe Chucky needs some help. Maybe Chucky needs some intervention. Maybe Chucky needs a little bit of extra attention, and we as staff members need some extra attention on listening, watching, and seeing the interactions of Chucky, because he may be doing some things that are inappropriate. And again, I don't think any of us would say that that's appropriate for him to be using that type of verbiage in school or anywhere.
So give it to Chucky.
Next, provide an annual mandatory training and programming for staff and students on racial harassment and to ensure staff understand their obligations. We do that. We absolutely do that, and we continue to do that today. When you leave today, if you choose to, up here, I don't know, it looks like somebody might have taken some of my documents. If you did, please put them back. Okay. Up here you can see, what do our farm students get when we meet with them at the beginning of the year, and how do we educate them on harassment, bullying, right? Discrimination. It's in here. Your children have that information. We have middle school, we have high school. And by the way, on August 14th of this year, what did I do with that? On August 14th of this year, I sent this out to every single parent in the community, because every Wednesday, if you're not a parent in our district, you wouldn't know this, but every single Wednesday, I send out an update. And in that update, I talked about see something, hear something, say something, and put a link to where you would see information that our students are being addressed about. Every single parent got that. Do you know how many calls I got saying, no way, Jose? 0. Again, you can see what we provide them. And every one of our educators, we visit every one of our schools in the fall here, finished up yesterday actually, and we go through all of the policies, practices, and procedures of the district. What does it mean to be discriminatory? What does it mean to be racist? What does it mean to be a bully? What does it look like? And what is your obligation? And the obligation of every staff member as mandatory reporters is that they bring the issue to our attention. They are not expected to investigate. They are not investigators. It is the building administration and central office staff. We investigate those issues and we work through those. So that was provided to the parents of this community, so you knew what we were doing as we started this process this year. We also know this, part of what you see, I'm not taking questions right now.
Is this parents' coffee hour, or is this your chance to
This
speak?
is the superintendent's coffee hour.
Okay.
If you don't like it, you can leave.
Oh, I will, thank you. But it would be nice if parents had a chance to ask questions.
It was
Yep, you
questions
will.
and answers.
So-
You're wasting time.
Write your questions down. So, we also know this. Part of the work that we do in this district every day is on social emotional learning. And some don't like the word social emotional, we're learning the words. How about we work with our kids to teach them how to be respectful, how to be, to manage themselves, how to deal with anger, how to deal with things that they're being dealt with every day. You can see some examples up here. But when we survey our parents, last year, for instance, we surveyed our parents. And our parents that send their children to our school district, 90.4% strongly agree that we should be doing this work. 2 years before that, 81%. No, this is parents. This is parents saying this is what we support in Hartland schools. That means something. It does to us as administrators, as educators, every single day. All right, so here we go. We got that done. We signed the agreement. By the way, the whole board at the time knew that I was signing this agreement. That was the procedure at the time. I signed it. We move forward.
But it never hit the board table. It was never voted on.
So, we move
Which is
forward.
a violation of the open meeting.
Please stop. It's my time right now.
And your policies.
My time right now. Thank you.
Hey, who are you? Are you the czar or what? They can talk.
It's my time right now. Thank you.
Quiet, please, please.
So,
Oh my God, I'm
the
wasting
board knew
time.
what we were doing. We moved forward with the DOJ. We did the work that they asked us to do. At the end, in the spring of 2023, the DOJ visited the district. No heads up, just visited the district, sat us down and said, you've completed your work. We appreciate that. You've done a commendable job on dealing with the issues that we were worried about. However, our investigators went back and talked with your community again. They talked with quite a few people. They talked with your students of color. And our investigators believe that in Hartland, you could still benefit by moving forward with the race-based issues specifically. Student-on-student, race-based issues specifically. So, we negotiated for a year with the DOJ. Our attorneys, Michelle Bondil, board member, Kristen Coleman, board member, Megan Gladbach, board member, negotiated with our DOJ counterparts. We had a pretty good collaborative meeting. We got some things taken off the table. They had some things they wanted to see us do, and we finalized this extension agreement. It is an extension agreement. It's titled an extension agreement. That's what it is. So that's how I, as a superintendent, refer to it, as an extension agreement. Okay? So now where are we? What is it that this agreement is asking us to do? Here's what this agreement is asking us to do. The agreement is asking us to continue the tracker process. There's a section in here that talks about monitoring and reporting. Continue the process of tracking incidents, making sure that we keep a handle on things. I have to assume as a superintendent that we'll have more incidents in the tracker because we're much more in tune to it. We're watching much more often. We're paying attention. So that'll happen for a while. They want us to work with a third party, which is the Map Center, on developing a survey that gets specifically to the race issue. Because remember I said earlier, the survey that we hired a company that does this work to help us with didn't quite hit the mark. So the DOJ said, hey, we would like you to work with another company. We had a chance to pick whoever we wanted. They left it on the table. They left it on the table. We had our board meeting with the DOJ, our 3 board members. They said, if you've got a better solution, present it. We looked around, we didn't find a better solution. We liked the Map Center from this perspective. The Map Center has a relationship with the DOJ, and the DOJ has a relationship with them, so that can only help us because we're working with somebody they have a respect for. Now again, we could have picked whoever we wanted, but nothing came up that was a better solution. So that's why we went with them. That was our recommendation. So that's one reason why we're going to work with a third party, is because we need a survey that the DOJ will say, yes, this survey works for what we're asking you to do in regards to collecting data. That's one reason. The second reason, if you look at the section called, in section 3, training and professional development. If you read this section, there's nothing in this section that talks about you have to have a class for graduation. You have to have this, you have to have that. I don't know where all that came from, but it's out there, but that's not true. Don't know who made that up, but it's out there.
Because it says.
Please, it's my time.
Must
Oh, my God.
administer training to all
Sam,
students.
this is my time.
So,
Why are we here?
working with the DOJ, we know that there's really one thing in this section that we really probably could use help with. Even though we've been practicing and teaching, many of our staff have gone to special trainings on restorative justice. Restorative justice, so you know, it's really the old-fashioned, hey, you two, get together, say you're sorry, shake hands, be done with it. We don't do that anymore. It seems like it would be an easy thing to do, but
So people wouldn't shoot at each other.
there's more intricacies to issues with children today when social media is at play and all these other things happening that make it a lot harder for me simply to say, shake hands, say you're sorry, and move forward. So restorative justice is getting the kids together. If they agree, get them together, acknowledging how I might have hurt you, acknowledging how what I did hurt your feelings or whatnot, addressing that, and moving on. It's kind of like when I was a high school principal and Billy would yell, Hughes, you're a blank. And everybody's watching me. Everybody's watching. How am I going to respond to that? And I'd say, Billy, I'll see you in my office in 10 minutes. I'd wait 15. I'd go to my office, I'd sit down. I say, Billy, why are you here? Do you know why you're here? Yeah, so you can suspend me, Hughes, blah, blah, blah. I said, no, not true. I just want to know, why in the hallway? Why couldn't you just come to my office and tell me how you feel and let's figure this out, throw it on the table? And do you know, we finish it, I'd send Billy off. People were watching. I never had another issue with Billy. Never. Why? Because you treat each other with respect and you say, hey, why? Why in that environment? Why did you have to do that?
Okay, but we all know about this racist. We're adults, so let's get to the point. Like, this is ridiculous. You're
So,
being like Kamala. It's my
what
time.
else?
Shut up. Come on. What?
This isn't respecting
Excuse
our time.
me.
We're
We are
here
here to answer questions.
9 to 10.
This is a filibuster.
Hang on.
Shut, you obviously don't have any solid questions yourself,
I'm going to
lady.
tell you right now.
This is my time also.
Yes.
I'm not here to waste my
Excuse
time
me.
How about
either.
everybody quit interrupting?
How about you shut your mouth?
Okay.
Come over here and make me do it.
You want me to?
Ma'am?
No, come on.
Ma'am?
Right here.
Hey.
Right here.
Deputy,
Guys,
she's
you guys
gone.
are gone. You're disturbing a public meeting.
Yeah, because this
Go.
It's
is
a
supposed to
misdemeanor.
be
Disturb a
fine.
public meeting.
Yeah, come
You're
to my
gone.
house, honey.
Go.
Go ahead.
Go.
Amber, you're gone too.
You
Go.
should be
Go.
going.
Yes.
I've heard about you,
Yes,
lady.
I'm gonna
What a
walk.
fucking joke. this
Amber's
is.
used to it.
You're disturbing
I
a
sure
public
am.
meeting. Let's go.
Oh,
Everybody's got to be good at something.
you might want to take me out to my
I'm
car.
good at being a fucking bitch. You're ugly fucking bitch. Oh, ugly compared to you. We know all about that. You know what? I've been working. I got it.
All right, so everything else in the training piece of that section is for us as a school district. Us as a school district to determine what is appropriate and acceptable to our community and how we educate our children. So a team will be put together. I have asked 2 board members to sit on that team as well. I've asked Mrs. Coleman and Ms. Glaybach, Mr. Keller and Mr. Gogoleski to let me know who'd like to sit on that team, because we want input from our board moving forward. I didn't want the 3 board members that are up for election this year. I wanted people that I knew were going to be here after the election. And so I've asked them to let me know if they'd like to be on this team. So they will be on the team, because everything we develop, anything we do moving forward, will come back to the board's DEI committee and then come back to the board to talk about and to move forward. Now, the positive side of this is this third party is going to provide resources, right? They might be able to provide us resources on things that we don't even know about. For instance, when the initial issue that occurred back in 21, one of the things that was said to this individual by students was something about moon crickets. I read that, I had no idea what that was. I had no idea what it was. It's kind of like when I was a high school principal, the kids came up to me and said, hey, Mr. Hughes, can we have this t-shirt? And it had a big WTF on it. And underneath it had win the fight. I had no idea. Like, I totally messed up, because I got a call the next year and said, Mr. Hughes, did you approve this? I'm like, well, yeah, win the fight, right? Like, do you know text messaging? I went out and bought a book about text messaging because I had no idea what that meant. No idea. So we have a resource that might help us to better understand what to look for what to address, and how to move forward. Just like these materials, but maybe adding to them. So we have an option. This is our option. So that's where we're at in regards to how we move forward. That's a half an hour of trying to give you the best scenario of where we started and where we at. Dave and Rachel, if you'd walk around and pick up cards, hold your cards up, we'll take them and we'll try to answer them as we go. We have a half hour to try to answer questions.
I'll start. It says right here in section 3, which you quoted, that the district will take reasonable steps to ensure the training is administered to all students.
Is there a question in there? Please write it down.
It directly contradicts what you said a few moments ago.
Please write it down.
Dave.
Thank you. So, question number 1, and I'm assuming this has to do with the tracker and the information we send to DOJ. How long does the DOJ retain this information for? Based on our understanding from the DOJ, and again, I can only give you my best understanding based on our conversation, is until the conclusion of them leaving the school district is what they would have it for. Again, I can't control what happens after that, but that's my understanding. What is the point of the DOJ keeping the record? Their point is to ensure that we are tracking our incidents, understanding what's happening, and making sure that we know what's happening in our school district in regards to race-based comments that students make towards each other or behaviors that are displayed by students to student. That's the key of this whole thing, is student to student. How will you personally work towards the redistribution of your own power and resources as recommended by the MAP Center, Great Lakes Equity Center? And how much of your own money resources will you be donating to this process? So the bottom line is, the cost for us to work with the MAP Center is travel and expenses for 3 trips is what they have slated right now. 3 trips to Indianapolis. We'll have a party of a team of 8 people. The cost will be that. There are no other costs involved unless they specifically come to our district and we ask them to come to our district, and then we would pay for their travel and expenses for that process. But other than that, that's the cost, and of course the time of the individuals that sit on the team to go through the process of, again, it might be looking at our handbook again, even though we've already done it. Are there any additional barriers in here that keep students from experiencing the full gamut of an education that we have to provide them? So looking at barriers in policy, practices, and procedures. And then looking over our materials. We'll bring all our materials with us and we'll lay it out on how we've been doing this and what it looks like. And then we'll move from there. And like I said, they might give us some key information that says you might want to look for X, or this is something that might be happening that you might not be aware of. It's no different than if I go to the officer and say, you know, where are kids hiding their stuff nowadays, right? Gosh, I learned a lot by just talking to the police officers on where kids might hide paraphernalia and whatnot. So you learn things from that.
So no consulting fees, they do their work for free, just travel and expense?
Yep, they're paid for.
So you won't be making a donation to the Great Lakes Equity Center?
I think I answered the question.
Where do they get their money? How do they do this?
Consultants don't work for free.
Where is Kate Gregory? Is she still the DEI czar? If not, who is she? Well, since you asked the question, let me talk a little bit about Kate Gregory, because that seems to be something that's out there. Kate Gregory was the high school principal at the time this incident occurred. She was our high school principal. We also knew that the following year, we were working with the DOJ. That's one. That's gonna be time intensive. We were working with bringing security on campus because our board had voted based on public opinion that we should have security. That was gonna be time intensive to monitor that process. And we knew that Mr. Van Epps, our assistant superintendent, was going to be retiring at the end of the year. So, when I came over to the central office, I certainly, I was brought over a year early as well to learn the ropes in the curriculum department, to begin infusing myself and learning that transitional period. That was a transitional period. The board agreed to that, so Kate came over. She was the liaison with the DOJ. Scott Van Epps retired. We didn't replace that position. We didn't need to. We have it. And now, Kate Gregory, Dave Minsker, who is our curriculum, assistant superintendent for curriculum instruction, and myself will work with the DOJ and our staff and our students and to move that forward. So that's how that worked out, which we thought was a really good transition plan. When will DOJ and the MAP Center curriculum be available? Again, no talk about curriculum, no talk about classes. That's not where we're going. What you see here are examples of stuff that we provide our students and all year long through conversations with our students.
That contradicts the form which says, school-wide training programs to all district schools, and that the district will make sure training is administered to all students. So that directly contradicts the agreement.
You can look at our training materials.
Were those approved by the DOJ and the MAP Center as required in the
When I
agreement?
get to your question in here, I'll answer that.
That was my question, and you skipped over it.
No, I didn't skip over it, Jeff.
So when will that curriculum be available for parent review?
When we're done with our work.
Well, you just said there is no curriculum. So which is it?
Jeff, I'm not gonna get into
Can I add
semantics.
to that?
Sure, Dave.
I don't view any of this as a curriculum, I view it as training. For example, if we had students, if we had vaping, when vaping came out, we had an issue at the high school, we got together and figured out how can we train students on the negative parts of vaping. We've had that as long as I've been in the school, schools kind of do that. And it's those kind of trainings that we provide. We have some trainings when colleges come in about trade school and things like that. We have trainings on those. This is similar to that. So we're gonna go to.
Well, it's not similar to that because it has to be submitted to the DOJ for approval.
Let me finish. So when we go down for the resources with the MAP Center, they're gonna provide those to the group. We're gonna come back, we're gonna take those things that we think fits into our community, on things that we think is appropriate. We'll put that plan together, we'll share it with the board, we'll share it with the parents will see it before the kids ever do.
That was the question,
You'll
yes.
have an opportunity to opt out if you don't want your students to be part of it. That's all part of the plan on how we're gonna proceed, but it's not a curriculum where it's gonna be into my curriculum, binders and how we do curriculum and where it's a constant
Okay,
thing.
we
It's how do
we
do
can
it.
say training materials then. You're
Yeah. Yeah.
training our children with curriculum from the MAP Center and the Department of Justice.
Well, I don't view it as curriculum. It's not
Okay,
curriculum.
training materials, but they do have to be approved in advance by the Department of Justice and by the Great Lakes Equity Center, prior to you training our children with those
Yeah,
materials.
when we met with them and had our phone calls to figure out what the MAP Center was, it was pretty evident that they were going to be a resource for us and a help for us. We developed a plan, and the MAP Center was gonna help us walk through that
They're gonna approve it.
and be a resource. And that's part of the reason why we picked the MAP Center, because if they sign off on it as a resource to help us, then the DOJ will sign off on it.
Down to.
So, we're moving
Well, that's a
on.
very different answer than you gave, Mr. Hughes, because you claimed there was no training. And now Mr. Minsker has been honest with the crowd and told us that there is training that's gonna be administered to all the children. It has to be approved by the DOJ and by the Great Lakes Equity Center, MAP Center.
Jeff, I'm
So
not gonna argue.
these materials have not been approved and do not count.
Quick question for Dave, so this opt-out, when it comes time
Hang
to
on,
opt
Len,
out.
if you have a question, put your question on
No,
the
this
paper.
just, well, this came up
Okay,
just in
we'll
Dave's
get to it.
answer, but If they opt out, is the student's name gonna be on record that they opted out? Or what's this opt out for?
There is none at this
What,
point.
no, Dave just said that there will be an opt out. So what's the
We
process?
don't have any plan for it yet, 'cause we don't know what the training's gonna be yet.
Will you be reporting who opts out? Who
No,
chooses?
why would
not to?
you do that?
Well, I don't know, that's a question.
That's a good question.
You're reporting other things to the
You're reporting
DOJ.
everything else.
Why wouldn't you report that?
All right, moving on. Thank you, Dave. If a student of color reports that they have been teased because of their race and it is a repeated offender, what are the next steps? What exactly does Kate Gregory do, and so on? Well, the process is pretty simple. We've had, I'll tell you, we've had 6 incidents already this year. Of students using language and whatnot that shouldn't be happening. And again, I think if I share the details, you would all go, oh, that shouldn't be happening, bad decisions. They have consequences at school, and they go to what we call an expulsion hearing. Now, in our district, we talk about intervention. Our handbook is based on intervention. So what that forces the hand of the parents having to come with the child to central office to have an expulsion hearing. Doesn't mean they'll be expelled from school. It's to talk about the behavior, how it affects the school environment, how it affects their learning, how it affects the other child's learning, and if you're gonna return to this high school or the middle school or the elementary school, you have to agree that you can't do this, right? So that's all part of the process, but it involves the parents in that process. It's not just like when I was in school and they suspended you and called the parent and said, you know, be suspended, and my parent go, okay, you know? It causes the parents to have to be involved in that process. So that's what happens when that occurs. If the N-word is not allowed and the school is so concerned the kids will use it, why is this person, I'm not gonna name, allowed to scream it? They're not. Could the DOJ recommend to fire the administration? No, they wouldn't recommend it. They would just say, hey, you know, there's some more work to do. And it could lead to a further extension. And then, at that point in time, as a superintendent, if the board decided that, hey, it's just not going well, it's been 2 agreements, then guess what? Their course of action is, they look at me. At the end of the day, I am the only at-will employee of the Board of Education. The Board of Education works as a board, not as an individual. The power that the board holds is sitting at that table together, as 7 members. That's where it happens. I am the one that is responsible to the board. I am the one who then hires and directs the rest of the district of 500 plus employees. That's my job. The board hires me to do that. Why wouldn't you ask the parents of the district if they wanted this agreement? Well, I think keeping the board informed, the way the board works, they knew that we were working on this agreement. The way the board works is they have constituents. And the board's role is to go out and talk to their constituents and bring their thoughts to the table. And at the end of the day, the board makes a decision and we move forward. And the decision was that we're moving forward with this extension agreement. And then we will keep the community involved in what we're doing.
So you're blaming the board on the fact that you didn't ask parents about this, if we wanted this?
I'm not blaming the board on anything, I'm saying how the process worked. If the DOJ did not require this, why would you voluntarily enter into this agreement? Well.
Excellent.
The fact is that the DOJ is given the power under a number of opportunities, including the Civil Rights Act of 1964, to monitor Title VI and now Title IX. They have the authority that was vested in them when the Attorney General position was originally created back in 1789, if I'm not mistaken, and then developed into this, that was all supported by the 3 branches of government. And the DOJ has the authority to take cases to court. They have the authority, they're recognized by the judicial system, the judicial branch of the United States of America. And so it would be foolish to say, we don't have to listen to the DOJ. To me, it's akin to saying, the IRS shows up at my house and say, well, you don't have any authority. To me, that's how it feels. And I don't know of a school district that has ever said to the DOJ, the heck with you, we're not following your direction, we're not following your lead. But I can tell you this, the DOJ has been extremely collaborative with us. When we met with them, they've been extremely collaborative on this agreement and working with us. Extremely understanding that it took us more time than they would like to have seen for us to sign off on this. They are right there with us saying, hey, you're right, we're good, we're moving forward, there's no issues there. I feel very confident in my recommendation to the Board of Education that we can do this work and that the agreement is something that we can accomplish. And if we can accomplish it and the DOJ feels confident and walks away at the end of next year, then we've done our job and we've moved forward. We have a better system for making sure that things are happening that are supposed to happen in our school district.
If this is so good, why the gag orders and the secrecy?
Do you think children are racist? No, I don't think children are racist at all. I think children make mistakes. I think children say things sometimes that they hear. Reminds me of a country song of the guy singing and he says, you know, where'd you do that? Where'd you get that? I've been watching you. That might even be the name of the song. I've been watching you. Children watch a lot of things. Kids see a lot of things. And you know what? They make some dumb decisions. And when they make those decisions, they're hurtful for some people. And when they're hurtful for some people, those some people cannot experience the full gamut of what we have to offer. And it's our job to intervene. And we will. Because that's our job. Do you have an issue emailing? Why can't you answer our questions in writing? I answer a lot of questions, but I know this. I let our staff know, and I let myself realize that I'm not gonna get into novel writing. I can't do that, because many times when people want to email, it just keeps going and going and going, and you go for days and days and days. It's not, the best way to do it is say, hey, give me your phone number, give me time to call, and I'll call you.
So it's not on record?
Which of these groups are privileged? Christians, heterosexuals, English only speaking, US born? I won't even answer that question.
That's a very relevant question.
It's not, I don't think it is.
It's my question, it is very relevant, because the organization that you're hiring in Indianapolis considers Christians, those four groups, privileged.
Yes.
And so
I don't think, I'm
what do
gonna
you
say,
do?
I don't believe anybody is privileged to the extent that they can be uncivil, discriminatory, racist, or anything like that. So if you want the answer to that is, I don't think anybody's privileged to be able to do something to somebody just because they feel like it and it's hurtful.
Well, you've got an organization in the MAP Center and the Great Lakes Equity Center that believes that those groups of people, Christians, heterosexual, US born, English only speaking, are privileged. You're bringing that crap into our district.
If you want an answer to that, the answer is we as a group will push back on what we think is inappropriate for our community. That's what we will do. That is what we are charged to do. And it won't end by saying, you're gonna tell us exactly what to do. It's gonna end with, this is not right for our community. And there's no way that we're gonna bring something back to this community that says, hey, if we do X, these students are gonna feel like they're guilty, shameful, right? Put out of place. That's not gonna happen. And I guess at the end of the day, you gotta trust us that it's not gonna happen, because you'll see what we have to present when we're done.
We don't, Tristan.
Why would you partner with an organization like that?
It is that.
Question, wasn't it a conflict of interest for Chuck to be involved in the negotiations and approval of the DOJ agreement? He is named in a lawsuit. Yes, I am named in a lawsuit. In my 34 years, 29, I think, as an administrator, I've been involved and mentioned in lots of different situations. I am involved in a lawsuit simply because I'm the superintendent of schools, period.
It's a civil rights lawsuit related to this case.
And your conduct. That's not just happenstance. You were the superintendent.
This is a cover-up.
And the DOJ found that there was wrong, that the district did not handle complaints correctly, named you and other administrators. That's not happenstance.
This is gonna help your case.
If you're doing this to gain favor with the DOJ.
The civil, there are two separate issues. The civil rights case is brought by an individual against myself and two other parties that are mentioned in that. That will be worked out in the court system. The DOJ and the work we're doing there is separate from that.
They're not.
They're connected.
Half of the federal lawsuit complaint is the DOJ agreement you signed. They are not two separate issues.
If my student is in a group text with their whole class, and a student sends a text that someone would consider racist, is my child now part of the DOJ investigation? I think that child would certainly probably be interviewed to say, hey, you know, this occurred, this was reported, what did you see? If the child was not part of the text messaging, no, they would not. How many cases have been reported? How long is it? Is the info, I answered that one. We've had, I think we had 21, 23, and this year I think we've got 6 so far of cases that we're working on with students that are making poor decisions.
Are the students' names reported, or how is it reported?
We have an agreement that we're not reporting names. All right? What options for my student will these be when they are opted out of all anti-racism training? Again, I guess what I can say there is, if you choose as a parent to opt your child out of the reproductive health section of our health class, then we provide an alternative placement for your child, an alternative place to go. So I'm sure we will figure something out for those students that they, if this is happening today, they would go X.
Sorry, can you please clarify the previous question? It was my understanding that the district had to record the name. It was first name and last initial. Is that inaccurate?
I believe that is inaccurate. I believe it's just initials.
I mean, that's a major thing, Chuck, you should know.
That's not nothing.
Okay. So I'll double check. I'll get back to you.
Does Mr. Minster know? He seems to have more answers.
In 1963, MLK Jr. famously stated, "I have a dream that my 4 children will be one day in the nation. They will not be judged by the color of their skin, by the content of their character." Why is HCS partnering with Great Lakes Equity Center, who specifically in their centered statement believe white people oppress and are inherently racist? Again, while they may say that, we know that when we go through this process, we don't buy into the idea.
Why would you partner with a group that inherently says white people are racist? And black people are oppressed? You need to do some research on Martin Luther King. He didn't want his children judged by the color of their skin. He wanted them judged by the content of their character.
It's been asked and answered. Quiet.
Unbelievable.
Why would you think any parent would want to partner with the federal government in any way to provide anti-racism training? Again, we certainly don't think this is the greatest of things. We're not sitting here saying, boy, we just are so happy about this, but we do know this. My recommendation to the Board of Education is that we're not in a position to say to the DOJ, no thank you, get out of here. And I think that would be a real travesty and a mistake, and that was my recommendation. Because the DOJ, I do not know of a school district in the United States that has ever said to the DOJ, get out of here, you're not welcome. And I don't recommend that that's what we do.
Because they gave them that money.
What do the school heads do? principals, I'm assuming, to explain to other students in order to eliminate the same situation. Again, I have information here you can look at and how we talk to our children about what's appropriate and inappropriate in our schools. Are parents allowed to opt out? We talked about that. We'll have a process when we get there. What's the status of your personal defense in the lawsuit? The status is they're doing depositions.
Who's paying your legal fees?
The insurance company. Have you considered a few parents to join this team? We will figure out what that team's going to look like, and we'll develop it from there based
That
on.
was my question, how can we stay in tune with that?
Yeah,
If
yeah.
parents wanna observe or volunteer to just observe this
Yeah.
thing, how would that work?
We'll have to look at that once the team is created and how we can make sure that we're feeding information to let you know what's happening. Okay? How many children attend Hartland schools of color? I believe we're, if I'm not mistaken, 9%, something like that. I know there's over 141 the last time I counted.
Out of how many children?
5,000.
That's not 9%, it's nowhere near 9%.
Well, it might be more, so. You can find that information out pretty easily. I can look at it and report it out. Again, that's not something I just carry around with me. So by voting for the DOJ agreement, we think our kids are so racist that we need to give valuable education resources to an outside agency, give them a blanket DEI training for our kids. Again, I think we answered that. That's not what's gonna happen, not our anticipation. Who is the attorney for the school? And Mr. Hughes, that will be our attorney through our insurance company. Who is paying the legal fees? Again, we have a deductible that we pay $5,000, and then there's a certain amount of money. I think it's a $5 million limit or something like that, so it goes on for quite a while. What assurances did you receive from the DOJ that at the end of the school year, they will be done here? No assurances other than if you're doing the work that you're supposed to be doing, you're keeping up on your reporting. One thing we did put in place with the DOJ, as I told you earlier, they surprised us at the end of the last cycle. We did get them to agree that they have to give us feedback on our reports. Our reports go out November 1st, March 1st, June 1st. They have 60 days to give us feedback on those reports. So we at least put something in play where they can't surprise us at the end, so we'll know exactly where we are as we're moving forward, which is a positive thing. When will your reading program get this much attention? Well, I don't know if you noticed, but in the
Can I elaborate a little bit? You talked about reporting, tracking, percentages. I'm a parent who has a child not at reading level. This has gotten so much attention. I have been attending, I have spoke, I have yet to get follow through. I went and asked for tracking and reporting. There's this on my child. That's a problem, guys. This is noise. That's a problem.
Amen.
School district, we're constantly looking at our students. All of our students are regularly double dip, triple dip. We're working with our students. Community Life this month, if you take a look, our students are outperforming by far the state. 539 school districts, ranked number 12 in all those school districts. Top 2%.
That's great, but what about her kid? What about the kids who are struggling? Not the
Third
top
year
1%.
through
My kid's
intervention.
reading too.
Third year.
His parents also supplement.
He goes to outside training. I've paid numerous thousands of dollars. He goes back to school, and guess what? The program, he falls back behind.
Yep.
Sounds like someone's failing.
Sounds like, that continue
I've been here. I've talked to multiple of you. It's frustrating.
Have you met with Mr. Minster?
Yes.
Why aren't you doing tutoring this year again, like you did last year? You guys did tutoring last year?
Why don't we do
Why is there
reading
no
training
tutoring this year?
instead of
There's no
DEI?
one.
No, my third grader, it falls on his teacher.
All right, Moving on.
He was handed to her behind, and it falls on her.
The
It's
answer
not
is
fair.
we do not have the funds for the tutoring this year.
How about that 250,000 you spent on the DEI czar last year? Did that take away from academics?
Are the teachers satisfied with the training they have received and have completed, and the survey? I will tell you that the teacher surveys this year, indicated that they overwhelmingly, support the administration in the school district. And I would say that as we meet with the teachers to talk about these issues, we don't get, any kind of, negative feedback from what we're talking about, and the teachers understand their role in regards to monitoring, see something, hear something, say and do something. That's what we do.
Because they're afraid to speak up, Chuck.
It is 10 o'clock. Thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, wow.
Okay, we're gonna end this discussion.
Half-hour meeting.
So again, thank you.
Should get
What
through.
about all the questions that need to be answered?
You've got some more questions, finish them up.
We'll finish
You
them
talked
up.
for 30 minutes. What about our answers?
Did you forget who your bosses are? This is back to show your